Hi, everyone. Welcome to our spiritual sojourn. So glad you're here with us today. Hi, Tom. How's it going?
Hello, Lori. It's going really well. How
Hey,
about
I
you?
see I'm doing well. I see we have a guest today. I'm excited to get to that so that we can find out all of her fascinating information.
We do have a guest today. We have a wonderful guest who I've been following online for a couple of years now, and she is an expert on the Akashic records.
Oh, ooh.
And her name is Valerie Klingenbeck, and I'd like to welcome her to our show. Now,
Well,
Thank you.
Valerie, you've been at this a long time. How did you get started?
Mhm. I've only been reading the Akashic records. I wouldn't call myself an expert because we're always expanding and it's an infinite field it's a field of infinite possibilities, really. So I'm discovering new things you can do in the records all the time. So I don't think any of us would be an expert because it's an evolving thing that you're learning and growing. And so we all read the Akashic records. We just don't know it, by the way. So what led me into this? Actually, I sort of grew up in a metaphysical kind of mindset because my mother was into this kind of thing. But it wasn't until I hit 20 that I really had my awakening where it was part of my journey and it didn't have anything to do with my mother's cues or any of that kind of family icon. So I've always done mindfulness and trying to stay in the now moment from the time I was a teenager on. So it made a big impact on my life. But, as life does, you have your ups and downs, you have your relationships, life happens, you have kids, and there's all this stuff going on. So it wasn't until my 40s that I really delved back in deep and got into the healing modalities and the different things that we know are out there that you can use with your friends and community, someone that might need to come to you for answers or shifting energies, releasing blocks or dissolving things, stories, the story. So um, to where I am now with a YouTube channel and an Apple podcast and well, actually two channels, a Next Level Channeling and Dragonfly Crystals, and a website, dragonflycrystals.store. Those all were born just a couple of years ago, all at the same time, really. Um, I had that soul nudge, get on YouTube and start a channel. I'm like, why? Because I was channeling. I've never stopped channeling. I've always written. I have books of my channeling. So I knew it was time to get out there and start putting information out there because one of the channeling that I did have and at least 2 years ago was about the new changes that were happening. And they told me a lot of things, which I shared some of it on my channel, my Next Level Channeling YouTube channel. So, yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I know everybody is having these soul urges to get on their path and
Yeah,
get going. And yeah, I know you all feel that, or you wouldn't be here with this channel.
exactly. Yes, exactly. I mean, every time a person comes in for a reading, it's like their guides are just,
Chomping at the bit to get
yes,
them, hear us,
it's like pay attention. This is your year. You can shed everything that no longer serves you.
Yeah,
You need to step into this alignment. It's time. I
absolutely.
mean, it's
It is.
constantly, it's time now. Do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
And
fact,
really,
your guides were coming to me. I'll tell you after the show.
oh
But
dear.
yeah, it's like, okay, okay.
Right. But they're just really,
I have information for you, but we'll talk
you
about
know,
it.
it
Yeah,
just seems like everybody's guides are really adamant
they
that
are.
they find someone to help them or they're guiding them to the right people. And it's all about pay attention and become more conscious.
And in the community we have in the spiritual YouTube community that is so beautiful, the questions used to be a few years ago, am I going to meet somebody? And
Yes.
now, or the 3D kind of things. And now they're very spiritual questions. What do
Yes.
my guides have to tell me today? And so the community has grown by leaps and bounds in their perspective of life and what it is that we're here to do. So I've seen that growth just in 2 years, the
Yes.
evolution of thought
Mhm.
and what they are deeming important to know right now has shifted tremendously. And I use that as like the microcosm of the macro. And I love that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So one of my kind of burning questions for you, and it was one you kind of indicated, I want your definition of what are the Akashic records and how do you work with them? Because I've had some training in working with them. I don't feel like I'm real proficient. I've known other people who've taken all this training, but they do it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
I know that they're vast. So give us just a little bit about what are they for you and how do you actually go to the Akashic records and get information?
So, first of all, everything is so simplified now. All this energy coming in and no veil. I don't care if they say, oh, the veil is thin. No, there's no veil. There's no barrier between dimensions. We fly between dimensions every time we shift our thoughts to something wonderful like love. We're shifting into the higher frequencies, and that's fifth or higher, whatever. So it's happening all the time. So there's no barrier to anything. Everyone reads the Akashic records, they just don't know it. I'm just telling you, the Akashic records reside in every cell of your body, in everything. There is nothing that doesn't have the records. As in the microcosm, the macro is it's all inside the whole story. It's just like one cell of your body. You can clone a whole person practically. It is that same concept that everything is in everything, the whole information. So what does that mean? That means that you can just find a spot up here at your crown chakra where you have that communication. There's the soul chakra, blah, 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 all the way up. There's tons of chakras. Just go up to the crown. And this is after you've grounded yourself, you've surrounded yourself with light. You are bringing in the highest vibration. So you are setting an intention. And there's different prayers you can say to open the records. It's just an acknowledgement to the Akashic record. I use Akashic record masters because we all have them.
Mhm.
So since have been incarnated on Earth, every single person has Akashic record masters. You can talk to them, call them in your meditation, call them in and channel them. When you connect to your records and you're talking to your Akashic record masters like their buds, their friends, they will go into the records for you and they will show you visions, show you information, show you what you need to know. And you will know by the profound way that you acknowledge or your client is feeling when they hear what those records say. It is something that shifts them forever and they never go back to the old story that created whatever trauma or whatever blocks. And if you just are going in for information, just go into meditation. I do that very quickly and deeply by absolutely, you must, and I mean, really, it's important, 3 deep and slow breaths, holding it at the top of the breath, holding it for as long as you can, exhaling and going down. You could count 7, 7, 7. Then when you get down, you've exhaled, count 7 before you even take a breath. Take the breath, then wait, count to 7. So this deepening of that sacred breath puts you in that space where you go beyond ego and you can only connect to the higher vibration of your Akashic records. But I go out from the heart after I've grounded. I pulled in golden white light through my crown. I grounded into Mother Earth because it's extremely important to ground to pull that information in. Then I go up to the heart and I send light out all around the world because your heart really is the gateway to everything, the gateway to all that is. It is a very important thing to have heart, mind coherence. It's really important. So that gets that mind, that brain, that ego on board to be in that loving energy, that beautiful higher vibration. So then you go up to the crown and you call in, I just say Akashic Record Masters, and I start saying hello to them and I ask them whatever questions I have. So it's pretty simple.
So when you're doing that with a client, are you calling in their beings then?
I don't even have to. Some of my students, I teach the Akashic Records. No one leaves without knowing how to do to read. Everybody's reading when they leave. It's that simple. They go backstage, they do, in the breakout rooms, they do their practice. They come out and they have their amazing readings. It's something that your client and you, as you're doing the sitting down, you're already prepared. You've already done your meditation. You've already ready. You have your client in front of you, and you're going to start by reading the opening of the Akashic Records by just a simple prayer of intention. We're opening the records of blah, blah, blah for the highest vibration of light and love for them on their journey. And I always add and humanity, because I like to clear, and as you're clearing and as things happen, it's for everyone. Every time you do it, it's for everyone. So simply you're opening the prayer, but I do something extra, and that is before I sit with my client, I channel in a message for them from their guides and angels, from the Akashic Record Masters. And it is something that is so amazing because it will hit on every single thing that they will ever need to know. It's almost like this is your divine blueprint. It is almost like that. So in that way, I read that. After I've opened the records, and then I ask them, what is it you would like to look at? And I say it's really best to pick things that you feel like you're repeating patterns you feel like are holding you back. Things that if you knew and you could release, you'd be free. And things like that, traumas, whatever. And the results are so astronomical. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have written to me saying it shifts you so much in your awareness that you can't ever go back to the old way that you were. You just can't. It won't. It dissolves that. There's no story anymore for any of that. So you can't go back to that old thought. You can't go back to that old stuff that was there. It's that shifting. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I first connected with you to ask you a question, and I'll go back and tell you what it was because it's been a while. I asked you if there was if the ability existed where you found yourself in a place in your life where you didn't have the experience, expertise, knowledge to do something that you were faced with doing. And could you go to the library and check out a book or a composite of books on what you needed to know for that task? And
Well,
that
I'm sorry, Tom.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say they're not actually like, you could think of them like books, but
Yeah.
they aren't. It's like it's like information in the cloud.
Yes. I use the analogy very loosely.
It's like digital, whatever. And you actually don't have to find a record if you just go to your Akashic Record Masters. Now, not everyone sees their Akashic Record Masters or talks to them. I have plenty of students who go into the records, but they're guides and angels, whoever, they just show them things. They're not communicating with, but it's the same thing.
Mhm.
They're being shown visions of things pertaining to, I say to the Akashic Record Masters, please show me the root cause in blah, blah, blah. Show me the lifetime with the root cause of blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's this lifetime. Or sometimes they're channeling a message through and they're not going to give me a past lifetime. So it just depends, but I'm asking them to show me the root cause of blah, 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 and the root lifetime. So, yeah, where was I?
Well, we're talking about, I used the analogy of checking out a book for knowledge you didn't
Yeah.
have.
So knowledge you didn't have, you just go into your Akashic Record Masters and ask them, blah, 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 blah. And they will come in and tell you. They'll show you, they'll tell you, you'll either have the claircognizance or you will see the clairvoyance. All of your gifts are working when, and even if you only have one or two gifts or one working at the time, they will all develop and work.
Mm.
So, and there are people who take my classes who say, I don't have any of the clairs. Well, yeah, you did. You all do. You were born with them. You all have them. You just have to use them. That's it. You're using them, but you don't know you're using them. You don't realize that I had a feeling about that. Yeah, that was your intuition. Or, I kind of daydreamed about that. Yeah, that was your clairvoyance. Or whatever, I mean, everybody's got all of them. And so, yeah, you can
And
definitely go in the records and
and
ask.
truly, the more you use the one you have, the primary one,
Yeah.
the other ones actually do develop. I've noticed that for myself.
They develop like crazy. And
They
you're
do.
using, sometimes you'll see visions. Sometimes you'll get the clear knowing, the clear cognizance. Sometimes they'll come in and just say it and you'll get the thought voice, in your head. It's your own voice, but it's not you saying it. And
Right.
a lot of people don't realize clairaudience isn't just a sound outside your ear and you're hearing a voice. No, it is like telepathy. You're having a two-way conversation with someone. In
Yes.
this case, the Akashic Record Masters. You could have that same conversation with guides, angels, people, famous people from history, and in the mediumship arena, people who crossed over. So, yeah, it's not hard, folks. You just have to do it. Step your toe into the water and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I can do this. Yes, you can. You've always been able to.
Which leads me to that next question of how do you help your clients that you're working with begin to trust and use their own intuition?
So there is always this gap of disbelief.
Yeah.
When you start sitting down 5 minutes a day to talk to your guides and angels, you think that voice, that very soft voice you're hearing, is just your imagination. You've got to just let that ego mind that's telling you that go, let it go, suspend disbelief. Because yes, the channel is your imagination. It is that same energy, that creative energy of imagination allows you to receive these messages. There's no other way to say it. And people will go, imagination. Yeah, it'll say things you would never say, though. And you get those chills with confirmation that what you're hearing, seeing, and knowing is from source. It is absolute. But when you start your session by going in and using your prayer of intention, bringing in the light, connecting the light, grounding, nothing but the highest vibration of light and love can come in. It's something that just happens. And I always have Archangel Michael. I say, Archangel Michael, please protect and guide me. Even though you don't need protection because we are infinite beings and we, don't really need it. I say it because it just helps keep you on track for the highest vibration coming in. So in that way, yeah, that's what I do.
And I think in our culture, imagination has a bad rap. It's seen as something that isn't real. And
Yes.
it's like what I'm figuring out is that that's where everything comes from.
That's where everything comes from. That imagination is how we write a book. That
Yeah.
imagination is how we create a movie. That imagination is how you start a YouTube channel. Like our, our, what is it?
Our
Sojourn?
spiritual
Our
sojourn.
spiritual sojourn.
It's easy for you to
I mean,
say.
that was hard, but I mean,
And don't feel bad, Valerie. I had to look up sojourn when we got started. Now I just call it the journ.
I could say it 10 minutes ago, but anyway, but I'm starting to channel things now. So I'm just saying that it is a precious and wonderful thing. We wouldn't have Disney and Disneyland.
Right.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have imagination. We wouldn't have cures for diseases if somebody didn't get that download all over. Tons of people are touching that information, and some are going to run with it and get the cures or develop CRISPR technology. Two gals, boom, it just came in, dropped in, they did it. I mean, just that alone is going to shift humanity like crazy.
Mm.
So yeah,
For
the
whatever creative things we've ever done in our careers, those
yeah,
come right through there, whether
yeah,
you acknowledge it or not.
yes,
And that's really the pathway.
it's the pathway.
Yeah.
So always allow yourself that area, that I don't know if it's 4 weeks or how long it lasts for you. Dispel disbelief. Just be in a state of trusting that everything you're getting now, what will you get from your guides, angels, and your Akashic Record Masters is pure love and information. No judgment, nothing negative. You'll feel enlightened. You'll feel light after a session. You'll feel maybe a little too up in the clouds, and you might have to ground yourself. You will never hear anything, but they are your cheerleaders. They are here to assist you. You are never going to hear that you did something wrong or blah, 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 blah. They will always say everything in a positive and beautiful way, leading you forward, but they will never tell you what to do. They will never tell you, they might give you hints on what's on the path if you do X, Y, Z as you go forward. Sure. They'll give you breadcrumbs and you'll see synchronicities. And all of that helps you know you're going down the road. Plus, you know, when you're in that sweet spot of doing what you're here to do, you will feel that joy in your heart, that feeling of you're happy to get up in the morning and go and do what you do. And anytime you feel a disruption in that, look at what you're doing. And maybe it's not in alignment with your divine plan, your blueprint, which is one of those things that people go, what's my blueprint? What's my divine plan? Well, you know, by the joy in your heart. Don't hold yourself back from doing those creative things that come into your awareness and you would find joy in. That's your divine plan.
You teach classes in all of these
Yes.
approaches. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about the classes you teach, what's a typical student you get, and where do they end up?
Well, my classes, like the Akashic Record reading classes, I have people on YouTube now, my students who are doing shows that do readings for people in the chat. I have there are a lot of my students, and it gives me great pleasure to see them progress and do things with their skills and abilities to help humanity. So that's something that they're doing out there. Plus, they're going in and finding new things they can do inside the records, all different ways that we can clear things and progress things, and even to connect you to your divine blueprint, your original divine blueprint plus upgrades. So you kind of like, it's almost like you're already in that, you've already got it, but it's like turning it on, activating it, and plugging it into a crystalline grid, say the fifth dimensional grid or higher. It's those are things you can do inside the records. It's pretty amazing. And we've just scratched the barest surface of it. So yeah.
And if I was to find you on the web to enter one of these classes, how would I do that?
So you would go to dragonflycrystals.store and you can go to book online, and you can go to take a meditation class that I give, and it's not your mama's old meditation. You talk to your guides and angels before you leave that class. You are channeling information from your guides and angels from that class. And I offer a channeling class, which I'm actually doing already. It's in progress right now. where you really get in depth with channeling. That's something that every single person can do. Everyone. And it's not the old school, you have to leave your body. You don't have to do that anymore. You can be conscious channeling. It is so powerful now that you feel those energies coming in and settling inside of you as you are still there channeling. And then I also offer psychic mediumship with my friend Alice of Heart and Soul Connected, who she and I developed this class, and it starts in April for psychic mediumship. And it's just another way for you to connect in. Now, I find that connecting to loved ones who've crossed over is a lower, I don't want to say anything disparaging, but it's a lower frequency than talking to the guides and angels. So I had to learn how to bring my huge multi-dimensional energy back down to talk to someone and tune into that. So that was something. So we teach that. And manifesting in the quantum field, a quantum field workshop is something I do with Tarot Stash Gerald. So there are these classes that are unique and special and that aren't just what the title says. You really get new information and a new way to look at it. And you go away empowered and able to utilize them.
So, and in the middle of that, did I hear that you also give individual readings? Was that part of it?
Yeah, I do intuitive readings with tarot. I do psychic mediumship readings. I do Akashic record readings. And, a lot of people, all my tools come into play in every single one of those types of sessions. But if somebody needs, say, some kind of coaching or some kind of way to understand what's happening and how to go forward, they can just book an intuitive reading with tarot, and I can delve into all those things. The tarot is just, I still talk to your guides and angels without throwing cards, but throwing cards does deepen the connection to understand, diving into little specifics. And it isn't that I never read the book of the cards. I just read the picture and image and whatever comes to me. And so those things are all can help you on your journey. Really any of those readings, but yeah.
That sounds amazing, and I'm interested to hear more about that. Well, we may have to have you back for another time
Okay.
because this has been really educational. Before we wind it up, Lori, is there anything else you'd like to ask Valerie?
Um, I think I've asked all the questions I wanted. I guess one of my questions is the last question would be, how have you evolved over the time? Because you've been doing this a while. And so how has your practice and your understanding kind of evolved? Because I'm noticing for myself, I've been doing this a very long time as
Yeah.
well. And I'm starting to notice that things are shifting and I'm understanding more, or I'm channeling in a different way than I ever did before.
Yeah. Well, I had kind of a break between some of this because my son passed away when he was 38 from a pulmonary embolism. And so there was like 8 years I was just totally out of commission. Let's just say it like that. It took like that long for this grief to subside. And I really had to do a Buddhist practice of getting up and releasing. And so it was really a long process, but I was finally ready. I had an Akashic record reading, and I had all this huge stuff coming in to do, all these downloads. This was after like 8 months after the reading. It just slowly evolved inside of me where, I've always meditated, I've always done all those things, but the level of information coming in, like in 2000, was off the charts from my guides and angels. I said, God, I might have to share some of this. This stuff is, it's telling about what we were what was happening with us energetically, what was going on. Because everybody was started to feel this unbelievable energy coming in, and all of the strange things that were happening in the political scene and whatnot that started earlier. And people were looking for answers and going deep. Well, I was never a big person in that political arena. I never really bought into any of that because I know we are consciousness and we are projecting our consciousness out onto the holographic screen. So really, to buy into the 3D stuff would be a little backwards. You kind of want to live in the light and live in your heart. And so there's all that. But really, as I got all this channel information, my mind, I was getting all these downloads. I was listening to light language. I was having all this, watching light language. All these downloads kept happening. So my awareness blew up like a balloon. I already technically knew all these things before, but to experience it is a whole different thing. To wake up in the morning and have light, have codes of light and information, like pages streaming down in front of my eyes, page after page, like 100 miles an hour. And then I open my eyes and they're still streaming. That's the kind of thing that was happening to me. So it's just that, we get activated, we get initiated, we get, it's like time for you to go on stage. It's time for you to share what you know. It's time for you to work with humanity. It is a trigger time for you, for me, for everyone. And so whatever I held in my mind about the past and the old way of looking at anything is so blown out of my mind. I can't even go back to any of that old idea. And it's like, you're just learning anew. You're learning anew and you're growing because it's so fast paced. So it's not that you even have to put a definition or word on it, because I think if you do, you box it in, and if you just have to let it evolve within you and let it grow and not try and do the 3D boxing in and let everything be just flow as it is. If that even makes sense.
Your story is just amazing, and every time you give an answer, I can think of about 10 more questions. So hopefully we will be able to have you back someday to follow up on some of these things. And I'm going to, personally, I'm going to make some attempts to try and connect in just the way you described that it could be done. I'll try that on my own.
You can definitely do it, Tom.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
So I want to thank Valerie for taking the time to be with us today and all the preparation that involved. And if you'd like to ask a question of Valerie, you can do that in the comments below. And we'll make sure that she gets to see those comments, and we'll get an answer for you, as if you have a question to Lori or me. And if you want to give topics for future shows, we'd love to have that. Feel free to enter that as well. And if you would like to contact Lori or me, you can do that at ourspiritualsojourn@gmail.com. And in the meantime, if you give us a like or a share, we'd greatly appreciate that. And with that, thanks again to Valerie. Her contact information is in the comments, and we hope you'll chase her down and get into her classes, possibly get a reading. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you.
Well, that was fun.